Investigative reporter Chelsea Brentzel was the one who found it and the first to notify the public. So Chelsea, what have you learned today?
So here's the question before the judge. Is a police officer who shoots and kills somebody entitled to a self-defense argument that would drop a murder charge? This behind me right here was the moment deputies successfully captured Brian Vincent just after 6 o'clock this evening. The grand jury process is not just an afternoon lunch. Why then did it take me finding documents for the public to be made aware that 3M was violating federal law for 10 years by releasing toxic chemicals into the Tennessee River? The research group believes that preparing for the future and saving lives begins with decades-old research. We can prove that some public officials had a much more complete picture about the potential dangers at the school. Homeowners tell me that the inside is a war zone, but luckily they were not inside, and that's because they made the decision 30 minutes before the storm took this path to go to their neighbor's home and get in the basement. Now Congress is back, but the spending measure still hasn't been approved. Like the winter snow here in Minnesota, the problems in Lawrence County aren't going away anytime soon. As always, you can count on us to bring you the very latest. Live in Madison County, Chelsea Brentzel, WHNT News 19. This whole big stack, this shows that year after year, 3M Indicator reported to the state of Alabama that it was releasing toxic chemicals into the Tennessee River, and it appears to have gone unnoticed by those in power. That's until we discovered the illegal chemical releases and told you about it. Reports submitted to the Alabama Department of Environmental Management indicate 3M reported discharging toxic chemical FBSA into the Tennessee River since at least 2014. FBSA is a short-chain PFAS chemical. It is used to make products like Scotchgard and Teflon.
We've always had a lot of questions regarding short-chain PFAS alternatives.
Tennessee Riverkeeper founder David Whiteside knows 3M and its chemicals well. His nonprofit group is currently in a legal battle with the chemical manufacturing giant to clean up similar types of chemicals it released in the Tennessee River.
Ultimately, resolving these complicated pollution problems, one of the best things we can do is shine a spotlight on there. But we also need the state regulatory agencies to shine that spotlight too. But unfortunately, they seem to be more interested in keeping this problem in the dark than to educate the public about what's going on.
Are you concerned that it took our reporting to notify the public about it?
Yes, I am concerned about that.
Alabama's junior senator Doug Jones is calling on environmental regulators to take action and get to the bottom of the illegal releases.
It shouldn't take the media. This needs to be something that everybody needs to make sure that they're aware of, and that ADEM and EPA need to get on this and make sure that water is safe.
And environmentalists hope this revelation brings new urgency for regulators to stand up to companies who break the rules.
It comes down to a simple lesson that we all should have learned in kindergarten. And that is, if you make a mess in your room, you got to clean it up. And unfortunately, 3M either never learned that lesson or they've forgotten it, and they've made a mess of their room in Decatur, Alabama, and we expect them to fully clean it up.
The EPA says it has an open investigation into the matter and is unable to comment further at this time. 3M also says it ceased operations at its chemical plant regarding these specific chemicals. You can read our extensive reporting on the issue on WHNT.com.
No comment.
Sheriff Mike Blakely is back on the job for his first full week of work since his arrest. Blakely, who has served as sheriff for 36 years, arguably the most powerful person in Limestone County, is facing 13 criminal charges.
I'm Mike Blakely.
Those charges are related to how prosecutors say he abused his authority and stole money from his office, inmates, and campaign funds. The Limestone County Sheriff's Office criticized the grand jury indictment process that landed Blakely in his own jail.
A grand jury indictment is not a conviction. In fact, it's the process typically used when an agency cannot obtain enough probable cause to get its own warrant. As Sheriff Blakely once told me, and I quote, "You can indict a ham sandwich." So would you indict a ham sandwich? The grand jury process is not just an afternoon lunch. The evidence previously gathered by investigators is presented to a secret panel. And unlike a trial jury of 12, a grand jury consists of 18 people. And that group of citizens is tasked with determining whether or not enough evidence exists to bring criminal charges against a suspect.
We will enter a plea of not guilty promise you that.
Blakely's defense team says it will challenge the constitutionality of the Alabama Ethics Act, which is what the 10-term sheriff is charged under. Meanwhile, because Blakely is a constitutional officer in Alabama, he's still allowed to serve as sheriff, which means state law grants him access to Limestone County's largest budget of more than $4.5 million.
Unless the legislature has chosen to give the county that kind of authority to constrain an elected official, the commission has no authority to do so. And certainly that's not happened in Alabama that I'm aware of.
Sonny Brasfield is the executive director of the Association of County Commissions of Alabama. Brasfield says county commissioners have budgeting authority, but no power over a county sheriff accused of misusing money. That disciplinary power is up to state lawmakers, and giving a county commission that power is too.
That's a legitimate discussion to have, certainly in 2019 when most of our structures were set up more than 100 years ago. But until you have that kind of discussion, we operate the way we operate.
The taxpayers of Limestone County are left to rely on the scales of justice for now. In Limestone County, Chelsea Brentzel, WHNT News 19.
WHNT News 19 Sunday evening starts now.
2 deadly mass shootings in the United States in less than 24 hours. Thanks for watching WHNT News 19 Sunday evening. I'm Chelsea Brentzel. Mass shootings in Dayton, Ohio and El Paso, Texas shocked the nation this weekend with a combined death toll of nearly 30 people. CBS News correspondent Hillary Lane is in El Paso with the latest.
This is a heartbreaking tragedy.
The shootings in El Paso and Dayton came less than a week after a 19-year-old gunman killed 3 people and injured 13 others at the popular Gilroy Garlic Festival in Northern California. He died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And hearts are heavy here in Alabama as the nation continues to grieve the lives lost in these horrific shootings. And WHNT News 19's Ivy Anderson is following the reaction from Alabama lawmakers and those who live here in the Tennessee Valley. Thank you, Ivy. And law enforcement here in the Tennessee Valley are remaining vigilant following the mass shootings this weekend. Several agencies are preparing extra security measures as many of our children start school this week. You can read how your local police department or sheriff's office is responding on our website, WHNT.com. Let's take a step away and get a quick look at your Sunday night forecast with meteorologist Christina Edwards.
Coming up in just about 10 minutes.
The Limestone County coroner has released the identity of an Athens teenager who died in a single vehicle wreck on Saturday. 16-year-old Maria Leanne Holt was driving a Pontiac G6 when it left the road near the intersection of Parker Road and Ripley Road and struck a tree. Troopers said she was pronounced dead at the scene. Alabama State troopers are investigating the crash. And Huntsville police have arrested a woman on an animal cruelty charge. Authorities responded to an animal in a car at the parking lot of the old Hildeberg restaurant on University Drive. Someone called and reported a small Cocker Spaniel was left in the car with the windows up and the car off. After waiting for the owner to return, police called the Huntsville Fire Department to rescue the dog. They say the animal was in the car with no AC for over an hour. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation is asking for your help in the search of an endangered child. On your screen right now is 18-year-old Brandon Wainwright. Wright has a known medical condition and requires special care. Authorities say he was last seen at his home in Harriman yesterday. Wright is 5 foot 5 inches, weighs 120 pounds, with brown hair and green eyes. Anyone with information on Wright's location needs to contact the TBI at the number on your screen. That is 800-TBI-FIND. We are in the middle of back to school season. With more students headed back to class this week, school zone traffic is going to ramp back up. We're going to have the public safety preparations next.